Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Anyagolu. Now, you might have read recently that the former Nigerian lawmaker, Senator Shehu Sani, has taken to his Twitter page to raise questions about the functions of the National Orientation Agency in Nigeria following the outbreak of the coronavirus. Since the spread of the deadly virus in the country, there have been calls for increased awareness on how to prevent the spread of COVID-19, particularly in the remote villages and towns in Nigeria, where there are no televisions, no internet, virtually no radio sets, no electricity, and no running water. The National Orientation Agency, which is the Nigerian government department charged with increasing awareness about such issues, appears to have been largely silent despite the growing outcry on the lack of awareness about the virus in several parts of the country. So has the NOA actually been silent on the matter?
Ogara Junction Market, Ogareki Big Market, Otefe Big Market. All those work from now is council. Any mosque, any church, when a member don't pass 50, government say, make the closer down. Quarter, when a member don't pass 50, closer down. Any house where don't pass 50, closer down.
Well, that sounds like a bit of information. For more on that, what the government is doing to disseminate information about the coronavirus to remote villages and towns, I'm joined now in the studio by a special advisor in Nigeria's National Orientation Agency, David Akoji. Thank you for coming in.
It's a pleasure to be here, Charles.
How are you getting information about the coronavirus out to those remote, hard-to-reach parts of Nigeria, the far-flung villages and sort of hamlets and so on?
Okay. The National Orientation Agency has footprint in the 774 local governments in Nigeria. And these offices are manned by individuals who are drawn from the local setting. So they understand the terrain, they speak the language, and they know how to get messages around. What we have done is the Director General of the National Orientation Agency had issued a directive for all community orientation and mobilization officers in the local governments, and these are the guys who are in charge at that level, to engage with citizens using handheld devices in marketplaces.
So the sort of thing we saw in
Absolutely,
that video.
yes.
Right.
In motor parks,
Right.
you know, in traditional rulers' palaces, you know, and all of that. And then at the level of the social media, and you do have quite a huge chunk of people, you know, in that space too. These individuals have recorded themselves speaking in their indigenous languages found in the 774 local governments, and they are posting these and sharing, you know, with various social media groups. Now, this is what we're doing, and we've kept it going. We have pictures, we have videos that are evidence of these activities going on.
Yeah, but the problem, of course, is that many villages don't have access to the internet. I mean, I'm talking about the really far-flung villages that are in all parts of Nigeria, that are hard to reach. I mean, many of these people, you can't get the internet where they are. You can't even, telephone signals are very, very rare.
Yes.
There's no electricity. There's no running water. So if you're sensitizing them and saying, wash your hands and do this, that, and the other thing, and you're not putting in boreholes, how are they supposed to deal with that?
Well, boreholes are exactly not within our purview.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that to give them that advice, you're saying that your job is simply to give them the advice. It's someone else's job to worry about whether they wash their hands or not.
No, they would wash their hands. There are alternative sources to boreholes in most of these villages for getting water. Not discounting the fact that some of these sources may not be exactly top grade in a few of these villages and all of that. But it is important to get the people to understand what they need to do.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yes.
What is the central core of the message that you're giving them about the coronavirus?
Well, we're getting them to be aware that it's real, because there's still doubt in some of these villages that you speak about. Some of the citizens at that level are still thinking that coronavirus is a sickness of the privileged, of the big man. Reason being, infection is coming from abroad. You know, people who traveled out and come back in sort of bringing this. So there's that wrong notion that this disease affects only the privileged in the cities. So we're dealing with that impression.
Yeah, but if you're giving out all this information, why is there this prevailing notion that you're not? I mean, very prominent Nigerians from the National Assembly, people who have constituencies in precisely some of the places you're talking about, have been complaining that, questioning the work that you're doing in this regard.
I think those people really need to ask people from these places that they come to. A huge chunk of these people that you refer to cannot even remember the last time they went to those places that you are talking about. But we have staff who are resident in those places, who work with the people, who see them every day. So I do not know from what premise they are making these claims that they are making. Now, don't get me wrong, the message has to be consistent. Because if you are talking about advocacy, you can only speak with so much number of people per time. So you cover far more grounds as you are consistently going from place to place, and passing this message.
Right, but when do you start, or when did you start giving that information out? Did you wait for the COVID-19 to arrive in Nigeria before you then started to disseminate? Because I'm trying to understand, if you're going to these far-flung areas, I mean, how much time it takes for information, because I know Nigeria is a very bureaucratic country and information is often centralized, and before they can disseminate it, it has to come from central office, the approved version, as it were.
Absolutely.
I mean, how long does it take for that to get to those remote places before they then start putting the information out?
It doesn't take that long. Reason being, in all the states, for instance, we have social media platforms that the NOA engages with its officers in the states. And then the state directors also have such platforms, and they have weekly meetings to which the community...
So they go to those platforms
orientation, exactly,
to know what they need to do.
And the messages we're putting out are not NOA messages. They are messages that have been approved by the National Center for Disease Control. Because it's important to put out the right
because I was going to
messages.
ask you, I mean, to take us through how you'd go about getting the information you disseminate. Would it come from the Health Ministry, the Presidency, the Center for Disease Control, the Lagos State government, depending on where what is happening at that point? I mean, where would it come from?
It comes from the National Center for Disease Control.
Right.
Yes. So unless messages are authenticated by them, and we go to them frequently to get updates, to get new information and what people need to know. So we're working closely with them.
So are people getting it? Is your message getting through? I mean, I don't mean getting through as in it's being communicated. I mean, in communication, there's a giver and a receiver. Is that message being received and acted upon by the people? What is your assessment of how they're reacting to the message that you're giving them?
At this lower level that you speak about, Charles, there's high level of importance to be consistent, to keep talking and keep engaging with the people. Now, this is the only thing that can guarantee this level of response, that we're talking about here. And we need to keep engaging with them. We need to keep putting these messages out there, going around to visit them and to see how they are imbibing the message and all of that. It's not a one-off thing.
No, you're saying you need to. Are you going around and engaging
we are.
and seeing how they're responding? Because, I mean, this is a galloping disease. It's something that is growing almost exponentially in Nigeria. I mean, within the last couple of weeks, it's quadrupled.
Absolutely.
Is that message getting through? And also, what do you say to them about what to do in the event of this disease hitting where they live? I mean, are there testing centers they can go to? Or, I mean, what can they do? I'm trying to understand what is happening here with your information giving and the benefits of it to the people you're delivering that information to.
Okay, this is the area of challenge. Every state government at this time have set up preparedness committees.
Right.
And the Director General had issued directives that the state directors in the 36 states and FCT should go and get included in the state preparedness committee. And the feedback we are getting is that indeed all of them are part of it. So the coordination and the response preparation and all of that is being done at this level. So in each state there are peculiarities. You do know that we do not have test centers in all the 36 states as we speak. Certain things are merely evolving, presently as we speak, with some of these approvals that you have heard about, and all of that. So this would take time, to set up in all the 36 states. So essentially, what we're saying to people at the rural level at this time is, if you find yourself coming down with the disease, you need to call NCDC helplines. And we believe that NCDC has access to what needs to happen next after such occurrence.
All right. David Koji, Special Advisor in Nigeria's National Orientation Agency. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Charles.
Well, that's it for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.